Welcome to Celebration Conversations. I'm your host, Sarah Taylor Young. Join me each week as I share inspirational conversations with fellow co-writers, artists, and friends. Here at Celebration Conversations, it is my hope that you will find motivation and celebration in your own story. Let's get to it. On this episode of Celebration Conversations, I am so excited to have friend and fellow co-writer Jared K.F. Jones with me. Jared is inspired by artists and writers like Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, and Ne-Yo, to name a few. His music has been featured on the Hallmark-produced TV movie In My Dreams, the hit BET series The Game, NBC's The Voice and Days of Our Lives, VH1's Run's House, the CBS Soap Opera The Young and The Restless, and other major TV networks such as Fox, TLC, and Bravo. Currently living in the suburbs of Nashville, Jones released his first Christian gospel album, For Your Encouragement, in October 2019. Jones continues to write, record, and produce Christian music and inspirational pop music. Also having a passion for encouraging, guiding, and motivating fellow songwriters, artists, and producers, he created thesongscope.com. He can be reached by email at jared@jaredkfjones.com or by visiting www.jaredkfjones.com. Follow Jared on Instagram at jaredkfjones. All right, I am here with Jared K.F. Jones. How are you doing today, Jared?
Well, Sarah, what's up? What's up? Hello, everybody.
Yes, I met you through Global Songwriters Connection. How did you get connected through there?
So I was back up in Boston at the time, and I think I was just reaching out and looking to be connected with the songwriting organization or something, just connecting with other people and other writers. And I forget how I came across it. I think it was maybe a Google search or something, but looked at it. Membership was cool. The pop events was, I think, the biggest thing that pulled me. Was, hey, knowing that, they have this thing every month, every other month or whatever, or every few weeks, where you can pitch your stuff directly. So I think that's what pulled me. But honestly, it's just turned into a big family, to be honest. No, so it's been wonderful. I think probably 95% of the writers that I know and people that I'm connected with now are through that organization. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, I've really gotten my feet wet with everybody too. It's just they're so encouraging, and Cherie is just she's the head of it all. She is
The Angel of Nashville. That's what I call her.
the
My
angel
gosh.
of Nashville.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
She's fantastic.
yeah, she's just amazing. So humble and down to earth to talk
Mhm.
to.
Yeah, yeah.
So as well as you.
I
Uh,
appreciate likewise.
so when did you start getting your feet wet with music? Where did it come from?
So now, in terms of music in general, like singing, dancing, or like music kind of recording, because it's like two separate time periods in my life.
Yes, yes. Just music in general, singing,
Yeah,
dancing.
yeah. Look, man, I grew up on Mike. Grew up on Michael. I mean, ever since I was a little kid. And grew up in the church as well. My father's a pastor. My mother sings. She's not a professional singer, but was singing in the church. And so there's pictures of me. I wish I had it. Because show you on video, people wouldn't be able to see it on the podcast. But there's pictures of me in front of like a hippopotamus green piano and a diaper, playing along, watching, I believe, Bobby Jones gospel. So music has always been a part of my life, especially in church. So that was my first introduction to music. Was in church, watching my cousin play drums every now and again. And so now it's funny though, because in church I really never sang in church. Um, I was a part of the mass choir, Ebenezer Baptist Church in Boston. I only think for maybe 1 or 2 years that I was a part of it, and I would lip sync. I would lip sync in church because I was scared. Like I didn't want people to hear my voice. A shy kid. Nobody believes I'm still shy, but to this day I call myself shy. Nobody believes me. Um, they don't.
I
But
don't
yeah,
believe
that's
that.
nobody does. But yeah, that's a lip sync in church. But yeah, mainly in church and growing up listening to all of Michael Jackson stuff. That's pretty much what got me involved in loving music. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you said your dad was a pastor?
Yes. Yep. And still
Yes,
is. Yeah. Yeah.
still is
Yeah.
a
It's always been a
pastor.
passion. He started preaching when he was 12 or 13. He grew up in
Wow.
New Orleans, Louisiana, and yeah, started preaching at a young age. Moved to Boston, I believe, for seminary. That's where he met my mom. Or he moved to Boston. I think he went to speak there, and then ended up being my mom and all that. So that was in the early '80s. And yeah, has been preaching ever since a kid. He still pastors a church now. He's the pastor currently of Zion Baptist Church in Lynn, Massachusetts. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. So, Michael Jackson, you said, was
Yes.
your inspiration growing up.
Mhm.
Now, he has a little bit of some confront,
Yeah, confrontation, like a little
confrontational.
sketchy. Yep.
Yeah. So, how did that fly
Past.
in a
Very,
pastor's
very,
house?
very good question. Now, okay. Now, do you mean you mean personal life and not music, right? In
Yes.
terms, yeah, I got you. So, you know, I think that at least in our house growing up, I wasn't really privy because you're talking my earliest memories of listening to Mike, you're talking 92, 93.
Okay.
And so the Dangerous album had come out in 91. And he didn't really do anything else from 91 until the History album in 95. And so again, I'm like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. So I'm not really privy to what's going on, in terms of that. And so as I, of course, grew older and started to learn more about it and looked at the history, you're talking late 90s at this point. Um, the biggest thing for me was, okay, is this real? Right? I'd seen the interviews, and what I have seen is that money can do many things to not only people but the people around you.
Mm.
And so knowing that, okay, here's arguably the biggest star in the world, one of the richest people in the world, um, is all this real? So I had I didn't have a lot of reservations about him as the man, because I knew that, look, the media can hype up stuff, the media can make you believe things that aren't really true. And look, God forbid if this is really true, um, man, he has to come to grips with that. Did that change how I viewed his music? Not one bit, not one bit. Because even to this day, I think he has some choreographers. I don't want to call out their names. I don't want to, taint anybody. But even new documentaries that have just recently come out has been people who, in the past, refuted, right? These claims that he's done anything bad. Versus now coming out, it's okay. Well, now he's passed, and how much of this is about money? So all that to say, at the end of the day, we all have stuff.
Right.
If this is true, again, what he did, no, it's shameful. If it's true, do I believe that it's true? I don't. If I'm being honest, I don't. And one of the last things I'll say about it is, I forget the book is by Randy. Is it Tarnable? J. Randy Tarnable, a guy who did a book on Mike. And when I read that, it broke my heart, because in the book, it had accounts of him as a kid. And so he would be, what, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, on tour with his brothers and his dad, all staying in the same hotel room, right? All these groupies come in and out. He had probably, I wasn't there, probably a very uneasy, weird, distorted childhood view, right, of a sexual nature. I guess I have to just call that what it
Yeah.
is, right? As a kid, you're in a hotel room seeing all that stuff all day long on tour. Mom and your sisters are home. You're being raised in an environment that's not even suitable for kids.
Mm-hmm.
What could that do to one psychologically?
Yeah.
So all that to say, again, I don't know if it's true or not. I don't believe that those allegations were true. Only he and God knows. Only he and the people involved, like the actual kids, know. And hey, I can't pass judgment, on something I'm not really privy to. But with the information that I have, that's what I believe. I really don't believe a lot of that stuff as we know it was true.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So, what were some of your favorite songs that he would do?
Fourth grade, I remember vividly, and I'm gonna tell on myself. I remember vividly walking home from Martin E. Young School in Randolph on my Walkman cassette tape, playing over and over and over again the Thriller album, but
Yes.
specifically "Baby Be Mine." Baby Be Mine was one of my absolute favorite songs, and probably because I was at the time in love with a girl named, I can say her name now, Rochelle. I'm telling on myself because people like all the dirt and juicy stuff, right? Right? Even as kids. So yeah. I would, like the girl, and I would listen to that, thinking about her. Yeah, one of my favorite Michael songs there. But I mean, a lot of them. Like I had an appreciation for a lot of his stuff, and even to this day, like going back and listening to, and I still have I don't have the little cassette tape. I have the bad cassette tape now. But Baby Be Mine, in the early '90s, the Dangerous album. Can't Let Her Get Away. Love that one. Remember the Time, to this day, is still one of my favorite songs and music videos. I love that music video. Magic Johnson, Eddie Murphy, Naomi Campbell, they're all in there. So yeah, early on, those were a lot of my favorites early on. A lot of the Thriller stuff and a lot of the Dangerous album.
Yeah, my first memory, and I'm going to show my age here, is when he did the Free Willy thing. Hold
Yes.
me
Yeah.
like the River Jordan. You know that song? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that video and I kept thinking, is that a man or a woman? I think I was
Ah!
maybe 5 or 6 at the time, but I was like, whoever it is, it's got a good sound.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was just very, very curious.
A
So
lot of the Dangerous stuff is very, very soulful, and he worked with Wait, was Free Willy? No. Will You Be There? Yes, that was on the Dangerous album.
yes, yes.
Yeah, and he worked a lot with Teddy Riley on that album, who's a fantastic producer. I don't know if Teddy did all of those records. I'd be interested to see if he had produced Will You Be There as well. But very soulful song. Mike has always had the choirs, right? In Man in the Mirror. Oh, God, he did that with Andre Crouch Choir. Oh, just fantastic. So Mike's always had a lot of soul, man. I tell you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of soul. So,
Yeah.
is he one of your greatest inspirations as an artist that you look up
Probably
to?
the biggest inspiration, absolutely. Yeah, because tracing back, I mean, he was mostly all I would listen to. And a lot of course, Mom had on the radio many other things. Magic 106.7 was our station back home. That played like soft rock and some jazz and some contemporary stuff. But a nice mix of like some old school stuff and all that. But yeah, I mean, golly. And as a performer, I think that was a big pull for me because early on, more so than I sang, again, I didn't really start really truly singing until I was like 12, 13. I would dance. So watching all of his videos, like I would be in front of his videos for countless hours. And I'm not joking when I say countless, over and over again, trying to learn the spin, teach myself the moonwalk, the intricacies. I mean, I remember his 1992 concert in Bucharest, Romania, right, which is one of my favorite concerts. And just to watch him as a performer, get up on stage and just look for like a minute, just look, and then all you have to do after that 1 minute is turn the other way. People go nuts, and it's like, whoa, what a cool thing to have such control and command as a performer. And so that's actually how I started performing, was going up on talent shows in elementary school, moonwalking and doing his dances. So learning and watching him and really having a respect for the craft of dancing and performing and commanding a crowd. Yeah, absolutely my biggest inspiration, because I got to take many of those pieces from him and try to apply it to my own career.
So you talked about Stevie Wonder in your bio.
Oh, yes.
Same question for him.
Gosh. Probably the greatest musician of all time, hands down. Yeah, I mean, there's many fantastic, unbelievable musicians, and even composers going back into the 19th and 18th century and all that. But I mean, Stevie Wonder, geez, to be doing that as a kid, blind, to have hits from All Right all the way up until, I forget what the last thing he put out. But a family friend, Marquita Silver, family friend, I think she let us borrow this album. It was like a four CD set. And I had heard Stevie stuff, already, Superstition and a bunch of other records. But when I got this 4 CD set and I got to listen to Master Blaster and Knocks Me Off My Feet, Overjoyed, and a lot of these other records, I'm like, oh my gosh, just fascinating. All I Do, just a lot of great records. Ribbon in the Sky. Yeah, I hands down, I would say the greatest musician of all time. And I think musically, listening to him, I can't play the piano. I dabble. I tell everybody that I'm trying to learn a little more. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think again that combination of just watching Mike and performance and songs and command, and then Stevie Wonder music and just everything. Yeah, one of my biggest inspirations as well, Stevie Wonder. Yeah.
Yeah, and he had a lot of respect for Michael too.
Mm,
Like they were really good friends. I remember watching the funeral online, and like Stevie couldn't finish his song. He just kind of collapsed into his piano and said, "I love you, man. I love you." You know, he couldn't finish his song.
fun fact, Michael sings background on All I Do. Him, Luther Vandross, and someone else I forget sing. Because I listen to the record All I Do, and I'm like, sounds like Mike singing background. And it's sure enough, I looked up, I'm like, yeah, Mike is singing. So very cool, very cool. Yeah, they were signed to Motown, in their early days. So yeah, very cool. And what a cool thing too, to when you're looking at the history and looking at what artists are connecting with each other and all that. I know it's different today, man. I tell you that it's
Oh yeah.
it's hey, yeah, but it's cool to revisit those stories. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when we met and we wrote together for the first time, you were still at your old job.
Yes.
Tell me about that leap of faith going into full time music. How did you get the courage for that, and what has that walk been like?
So my former job was at Mercer. Mercer is like a health and benefits administrator. Different companies will outsource their health and benefits. Like if you have to, if you have a job and you need to enroll in your medical, dental, and vision, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of companies across the nation and the world would outsource and hire Mercer to be their administrator to handle those things, right? So I did that for close to 9 years. And when I started in 2011, I started as a temp. I started writing down, okay, what is it that I want to do really as I'm building my music career? So I want to help people, I want to advise, blah, blah, blah. And as I was starting to research, I came across Mercer. So 9 years, and what it was when I started Mercer, I said, this is going to be my bank. I said, Mercer is going to be my bank to fund my music career. Because at the time, I kind of had come to grips with the fact that, look, unless I give my all and dive fully in to music in terms of artistry and songwriting, what have you, and what that would cost, right? And at the time I was building my family and all that. I said, I don't really want that. I said, I want to do music on my own terms. So that was huge for me to make that decision and say, okay, well, in order to do that, how can I best do that? Well, yeah, the sacrifice is, yes, work a job, build this career to support your family, but also to fund your true career, which is music. And so and it served its purpose. But over the last year and a half, I started feeling almost like a detachment, almost like okay, this season's coming to an end. And they're a great company, but the experience in terms of what we were having to deal with, just everything going wrong, right? When it shouldn't. I'm like, guys, this is 2019, 2020, and we're just running into continuous issues with the type of business that we're in. And I don't know why I'm doing this. It was a detachment I started feeling. So a lot of prayer, a lot of seeking out other believers and asking, for encouragement and prayers. I came to the fact that, okay, Mercer served its purpose. It's time. And I truly felt that in my spirit, because I've wanted to leave for a few years, but timing is everything. And God's timing is always perfect. Always. There's never a time in life where God's timing won't be perfect, because he always has our best interests at heart. So I've truly felt, yeah, it's time. And it's not scary, but I'm excited and curious about what I believe God has me stepping into. My first thought was it was going to be full on music production all day long, full on. It's kind of morphed though. It's morphed into, yes, music production, but hey, also this music business education, learning more and more about the inner workings of where music is headed and data and all this other stuff. So I have, not to sound spoiled, I don't, but when I look around, right, and say, okay, I have everything I need, right? It's also a very unconventional time to leave a job. I have a house, have a family, right? And so I also felt, well, this is the leap of faith. Because if I talk to Joe anybody, they would tell me, no, you have to be stone crazy to leave a job at this uncertain time, right? When you have a family, when you have a mortgage. I'm like, hey, but I have a God. I have a God who I've talked with on a regular basis, And I don't make this decision lightly, and I don't make it on my own. Talking with my wife, being in prayer about it, and seeing, I believe I've done right, and I've taken the steps to seek appropriate wisdom and counsel to firmly make this decision and to say, yeah, this is truly a leap of faith. Because I wasn't walking into it as, okay, I know how much money I'm going to be making every day. I don't, but I have a guy, right?
You don't know if you're going to be making any money. So
I don't. But to know that God, I believe that God has instilled certain passions in us.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're not going after those passions, I told everybody that I used to work with, guys, if I die tomorrow, was it worth it? Right? If I die tomorrow, was it worth it? I'm fully saved, fully know that when this life is over, I will be in heaven with him. But if I died tomorrow, was what I was doing worth it? And that turned into a no. Because again, Mercer served its purpose, it served its season, and I couldn't wake up the next day and say that it was. I couldn't, because I felt depleted, I felt drained, I felt like I was no longer serving any purpose in that role. And here's an opportunity that I'm so passionate about, the music, and not just solely for me. I don't just sit here and make music for myself all day long, but seeking out artists, right? Who can I help? Who can I serve? Who can I be a part of their other journeys, not just mine. And so I knew, I'm like, yeah, that's it. Like when that clicks, I'm like, that's it. That's what I want to be doing. So
yeah, that's awesome. Here we are. That's amazing that you have so much support from your wife and your family. That's gold right there. So when did you start writing music and getting into the recording space?
13 years old. Everything's gonna revolve around. Geez, everything with Jared and music always seems to revolve around a girl. But of course, as a young kid, hey, yeah. 13 years old, and I had started writing stories. I'd already been writing stories, because I'd always had that kind of creative side. I had never really written a song though. To my knowledge, 13 years old, I go to Skate Town, USA. It's also back in south of Boston. I forget whether it's in Waltham, Water. I forget exactly what it was. But I go there on a youth night, a church youth night, and meet a girl. I don't talk to her because I'm shy. Like I can't tell you, her name was Nadia. And some people wanted me to talk to her. They said I didn't have the courage. I didn't. I was too shy. I was scared. But of course, I said, well, I still have these, feelings, whatever. So, hey, I'm going to go back and write a song about her. I think I still have the cassette tape here somewhere, because at that time, the only thing I had to record was a karaoke machine. And it was so cool because I realized at that time, how do you record? How do you multi-track record? I can only record my voice on this one cassette. Oh, but if you put the cassette tape on the playback side and put another cassette tape on the record side, you can play the cassette tape that already has what you recorded and record that and your live stuff on this cassette tape here. Okay, now switch them again. Now that you have two tracks of your vocals on this one tape, put that tape on the playback side, put the other tape back on the record side. Now record your third track. That was my first foray into multi-track recording.
So wait, how old were you when you discovered with this?
13.
I mean, at 13, I was good to put the tape or CD in correctly the first time. Yeah. So that takes some brains to figure that out at such a young age.
Trial and error. I was like, look, oh, that's so cool. And I probably did it by mistake. But when I figured it out, oh shoot, I could play back one tape and record on this other side and record with my karaoke microphone. So I recorded my first song, Nadia, and I forget how the chorus goes. I would sing it if I remember, but it's something about Nadia, can I get you some ice cream? I want to take you someplace special. Nadia, you're the girl of my dreams, something like that. I swear I have the cassette tape around here somewhere.
Oh,
and if
that's
I find
hilarious.
it, I will absolutely let you hear. But 13 years old, that was my first foray into recording and songwriting.
So where
did because I couldn't talk to a girl.
So where did it go from there?
It was a blur, really, because from there, I don't really remember having a full-on passion to start writing and recording them, but that was just to get my feelings out pretty much. But singing and performing still was a part of my life. So I forget exactly when, but me and a couple friends formed a group. I think this was like when we were 15, 16 years old. Fast forward, I think a year or two. And we had a group called True Talent in high school. And so at this point, I'm in the chorus class and met a good friend of mine to this day, Azundi Chikwindu. Melvin Hill, Millard Merville, we all started singing together. Would sing like Boys to Men, and so it was cool. Like there was, just being able to sing and have that creative outlet. And even at the time, I still wasn't writing fully at the time songs. I was still kind of writing stories and stuff. So we would sing other people's songs, this and that. And I think it truly morphed into, oh, this is really what I want to be doing, was when I recorded my first album when I was 17 years old, 17 going to 18. At that time, I had went to Best Buy and got like Magic's Music Studio on my parents' desktop computer. And so I think over time, it just developed like, okay, hey, I know how to record. Hey, I like singing. Hey, hey, we can put ourselves on a recording. It just kind of morphed with the more that I kind of found out. And yeah, then I said, hey, I want to do an album, of course, with Mike still being an inspiration. Well, I hear all these great songs on the radio. Oh, how do you do that? And really just starting to figure that out and search. And so yeah, put a little studio program on my parents' computer. And my first, again, album, which was trash, it was me and my buddy Azimdi recording everything real time. Like, so at that time, I didn't know how to loop. I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to EQ, no compression, nothing. I pressed record, would do the little drum track for the whole 3 minutes or whatever. And if it wasn't quantized, if it was offbeat, that's what you heard on the album, right? Because I didn't know what I was doing. But I was I so enjoyed that process of just writing, making tracks and recording that I could actually hear myself, not just on a cassette tape karaoke machine, but now on an actual CD. I didn't really care what it sounded like. I just knew, hey, this is what I was able to do. So yeah, I just fell in love with it ever since then. I really did.
Yeah, it was all about a girl, right?
Yeah, well, that's what it started. Yeah, and my my album at the time was called, guess, Come On Girl. Come on, girl. Oh gosh, I need to go back and remake some of those songs.
That's definitely a Michael inspiration.
Yes.
Way you're making me feel,
yeah.
Hey pretty baby, come on, girl.
Yeah, right. And if you go back and listen to it, you won't be able to find it because I think only one of my friends still has a copy of it, and I told him if it ever gets out, I'm coming after him. But yeah, but it's the experience. It was that experience that kind of introduced me to, whoa, I love this, So yeah, that's.
What would you say to young writers or writers just starting out? Like what should they do for their process? What should they do to start out in the songwriting world if they want to pursue that?
I would say start with what's in your heart. Start with what's in your heart, because I think so many times we can jump right into, okay, well, let me find out how it's supposed to be done. And then that can distort the true writers that we are in our hearts. So start with the reason why you want to write in the first place. There are so many people that start with like poems and diaries. Start with what's in your heart to write in the first place, because that genuine nature of what you want to say, one, does need to be heard, because there's somebody halfway across the world feeling exactly like you do, but don't have a voice to say it. So start with what's in your heart. That's absolutely number one. Because for me, what was in my heart at the time was girls. Like I was singing, right? But it's turned into something much more than I'm sure we'll get into here shortly.
Hope it's not girls still.
No, it's not. No, it's definitely more. If I tell you that. But start with what's in your heart, and then from there you can go and explore. Okay, well, who do I love? Who do I want to say? Like if your favorite artist is Michael or Beyonce or Natalie Grant or rock artists, who do you enjoy listening to? Because when you piece that together, oh, here's what I want to say in my heart, here's what I want to write, and let me listen to a lot of my favorites, you're bringing together two beautiful and powerful things that you love. And I think that is what births a great and a true songwriter. I think start there, and then as you continue, hone your craft. So as you're starting to write, and you're writing your songs, and figure out something that you want to record on. As simple as your voice note or as simple as a voice recorder, start somewhere and start with what you have. Don't feel like you have to go out and get the best step. You don't have to. Start with what you have, and start with what's in your heart, and put some things down, put some ideas down, and then hone your craft. So when you say, hey, I really like this, I really enjoy this, I really think I have something here. Okay, cool. Now find out, well, how can I best record this? How can I learn it? Really, really, really do that. And then once you have something, just keep going. hone your craft by seeking feedback, right? But don't do it too early because you can get discouraged very quickly. And one of the things I'm dealing with now, many writers, constant discouragement is when a song is here and somebody doesn't like it. Okay, well, that song wasn't for them, right? It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that you have to find the right. So yeah, stay encouraged, hone your craft, and always write from your heart. Like this is what you love to do. Know why you're doing it in the first place, and always keep that in the forefront. I would that would be the advice I would give to young writers starting out.
Yeah, so tell me about a little bit about your process. Like, do you write every day, every other day? What do you try to do to
Mm,
keep your chops up?
great question. Here's a really cool unconventional thing. I don't believe in any rules. I don't any rules. I don't because there. Oh gosh. Oh, you're gonna get me going now.
Uh-oh.
You're gonna get me going. There's some people that say, "Oh, you gotta write," and forgive me, Sarah, if you feel like this at all, but I just you know me. I just come from the heart. There's some people that
Yes.
say, "Okay, either you have to be writing every day." You don't. That's number one. You do not, because sometimes if you're continuously pouring out and your well isn't being filled back up, you're not gonna have anything to say. So that's
Very
huge.
true.
No, you don't have to write every day. Write when it's I would especially for those starting out, write in your comfort zone. And so if you know, because there are some people that are comfortable with writing every day because they have to. So me, my process is to I do right. I have especially now in my schedule. I have times where I say, hey, start a new composition, right, or finish a composition. And I now write with the writer and producer hat on. So if I'm writing, I'm always thinking with the production in mind. I'm a little biased because when I think writing, I don't just think writing lyrics. I think writing melody, writing
Mm.
ideas. So in a sense, you really are always writing. As I think everybody's going to get to that point where every time you hear something or you're out of the restaurant pre-COVID and hopefully post-COVID, if, and I've done this where you hear certain conversations, right? And not to eavesdrop,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't help it. And you're like, oh shoot, that would make a good song. And then you start taking a Rolodex of, oh wow, that would sound so cool. You're kind of always writing because you're always developing ideas. Oh, that would make a great line. You're kind of always writing. So in a sense, my process again is I have certain times that I already have scheduled throughout the week, where I know my best times to write is like early morning, and but it's not every day. Like some days I do just mostly music business stuff. Um, but yeah, so my process I set up times where I write, and however much I get to, if I'm composing a melody or composing a track, I most of the time do that first. There's sometimes where I feel the Lord's just giving me something, melodies, lyrics, and everything all at the same time, and I'll get into my Evernote and I'll record it. And I'm like, okay, now that I kind of have this down, let me schedule a session to actually do this next week or something like that. So that's kind of my process, and really finding what works. And I found that that's worked for me is that constantly getting ideas, have set times during the week where you are kind of going in. Um, but it also adjusts. There are some people that also say that, hey, even when you don't feel like writing, go ahead and write. And I do agree with that. But at the same time, it depends on who you are. I'll give you an example. Me, I'm writer, producer, and music business education type guy, right? So there's certain times where I may say, man, I really have in my heart, I got to get this blog article done or whatever, because it's really weighing. If I'm scheduled to write with myself at that point in time, I may pivot, and that's a beautiful thing to do. When you're doing this for yourself, you can pivot. Of course, if you have co-writing sessions, honor that, honor your commitments. But if you're writing by yourself, you can say, I'm going to switch this. I had scheduled for right here, but I feel I need to be doing this right now. Do it. Don't think that, okay, well, I have to do this. I'm going to force myself to do this. Some people have to because that's part of their process. So at the end of the day, you got to find what works best for you. You can absolutely try to take different pieces of everybody's process, but stay true to your own process.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to ideas, but you can also sculpt, shape, and take, and then now you have your own creative process based upon what you heard and what you've done yourself. So that's kind of mine.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I definitely agree with all of that. Tell me about some of the songs you've written and or produced to be featured in TV and film. What's some of your favorites? Which one was the most surprising? Sometimes
Mm.
a song will find a home and you're like, I didn't think that would be
Yep.
there.
Oh boy, how much time do we have? No, I'm just kidding.
We
So I
got
got
time. We got time.
um my first placement was probably my most surprising because I think many of the songs that I've done, many of them were never intended specifically for film and television. I'm doing more of that now, and that's another thing I don't believe in when people say, hey, don't write for sync. I don't agree with that. I think you can, because I think great songs make great syncable songs. And I think if you take that, but I digress. I'm going to get on the soapbox again.
You a soapbox?
Yeah,
No.
right. But Everywhere We Go was my first placement on Young and The Restless in 2005.
Wow.
That was a
Very cool.
surprise because at the time, remember, I was, when you want to know something, Google it, or whatever search engine, because that's how I started even figuring out that you could place music in film and TV. I said, hey, how do you get songs in film and TV? That was it. And so Free Play Music was the first company that I got involved with. And it just learning about, okay, how to do this, how it's done, blah, blah, blah. And now, oh my gosh, there's just countless companies doing this. So find, the ones that work best for you. Everywhere We Go was a record I did with Zimdi, again, my friend and brother in Christ, who I love to this day. We did that. He produced it, I wrote it and sang it, and we got it in Free Play's catalog. And of course, with film and TV a lot, you don't know what's being placed and when until you get the check.
Very
right?
true. Yes.
Right? So I got the check from ASCAP, and I'm like, oh shoot, we got a placement. And I was lucky enough to be able to try to find in your ASCAP statement, they have, like episode or whatever. I was able to find, I don't know whether it's the name of the episode or something. I was able to find it on YouTube and listen to it. And I was like, I'm just in awe. Like, yo, my song was on a major TV show. Like, this is fascinating. And that was within a year of search. Now, it doesn't always happen like that. There are people still waiting for placements, but I mean, the biggest thing is just get your stuff out there. So Everywhere We Go is probably my most surprising placement. That's a song that I didn't release either. I never released that song.
Wow.
Never released it because I take that back. At the time when I said I wasn't specifically writing for film and TV, when I knew and started to understand how you play songs, film and TV, I did. I purposely wrote and said, hey, I want to get the song, film and TV, whatever. But I never released those songs. I didn't. Like a lot of the placements that I've had, to be honest, I think only one or two of the songs I've ever had placed on film and TV have been songs that I've actually released as an artist.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I'm looking at your bio, and you've had some movie placements, In My Dreams, and hit BET series, The Game, The Voice. Like you had a song on The Voice.
Well, and so it's interesting. So a lot of the music too, and you have to look on the statements too, because a lot of times you would hope and expect they're going to use the full song. A lot of times they don't. A lot of times they use instrumental pieces and this and that. Right. But the fact remains, it's your song. On The Game, it was an instrumental that I had worked on with Tiago, a producer from Portugal. That was cool. You said the movie. So In My Dreams was an ABC. It premiered on ABC, but it was produced by Hallmark. It starred Catherine McPhee. Oh my gosh! When I found out that I got that place, I was like, yo. But again, I didn't know until well after. So of course I had to search and But that song was a song called what was that? You told me to be prepared. If I'm Not the One. If I'm Not the One. Again, another song I didn't release, but I did that with a producer named Charles Hudgens from Virginia. They call him C-Hud. And so we got that place with Jingle Punks. Jingle Punks is a music kind of library, music production house that was recently purchased by Oli Music. But this was how many years back? I forget when it came out. But If I'm Not the One played in one of their club scenes.
Very cool.
It was cool, but I never released it. And but it got played. I was like, yeah, this is still so cool. So I love, man, I'm telling you, any of the placements is always a surprise. I've done songs that I thought, oh, this is sure to get placed, and to this day they haven't been placed. I'm like, oh, come on, man. But the songs live on. I'll say one more about one that my most surprising one. I take that back. My most surprising one was a song called Cold. Another song I didn't release. A song I wrote, produced, and recorded in 2007. I recorded it in my parents' basement. We called it the dungeon. It was underneath, and I say basement, it was underneath our porch. So it was in our shed. And I had, like, real talk, the mattress, blankets, it was the most bunk kind of recording space you could think of. And I recorded it there. And it actually, this was back in 2007. Do you know that song was used on the Young and the Restless this past December 2019?
Wow.
It's not about the space. Another thing I would say to writers is it's about what you can do with what you have. You can make great and unbelievable professional sounding records if you know what you're doing. And so thankfully at that time, 2007, I had picked up my chops a little bit, right? I had learned about EQ, compression. I was recording in Pro Tools at the time and all this other stuff. But that just goes to show, guys, that was 12 years ago. I never released the song. I completely forgot about it. Yet the song was just used on Young and Restless. What's today? September? 10 months ago. What does that tell everybody? Your songs can find a home. Mm-hmm. Don't just treat your songs like, oh, this song was released, so it can't do anything. No, and I got that check. I got the check for it.
Speaking of checks, yeah, how much money do you feel comfortable divulging?
Yeah, as much. Hey, all of it, pretty much. So my first placement was, and I own 25% of the song.
Okay.
Oh, here we're gonna go technical. So going back to everywhere we go, my first place when Young and Restless, I got paid $1,000. My first royalty check was $1,000 because they used about a minute and 2 seconds of it. Young and Restless plays on CBS, right, which is cable. I think you get your biggest amount of money from them because it plays on free cable and all that other stuff, right? I own 25% of it. Why? Because Azimdi and I wrote the song, right? So we're co-owners. We own the song together 50-50. But for music libraries and music publishing places, right, if they are responsible for placing the song, they get half. So you have 100% of your song, split that 100% because the publishing or music library gets 50%, right? So Azimdi and I split the other 50 because we own 50-50, and to split that next 50% is 25-25. So that's a long way to say I got 25%. So that song playing for a minute and 2 seconds on Young and Restless in 2005 earned me, I think, a little under $1,000. I think it was like $937, something like that. Okay. For a minute and 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Now, of course, at the time, I'm thinking, yo, I could quit my job. I don't have to work. Like, this is gonna be how life is. But no. It comes and goes. It comes and goes. Of course, the more diligent you can be and the more music you can be releasing and getting with libraries, the better you'll do. They say it's a quantity game. Yes, but it's also about quality. Because if the stuff I was doing wasn't good, then it wasn't getting placed at all. So you'll see placements like that. A few $100 you'll see. A couple grand you'll see. You'll also see that international money. Guys, this is worldwide. So you can't just think about US. If stuff gets replayed, and the thing about soap operas is they don't really replay. Like once it plays once, they go next year. But if you have like In My Dreams or The Game, not only will it play on BET, but it's also going to play overseas and in different countries, in Brazil and in Czech Republic and in Denmark, right? So over time, you'll start to see pennies or a few dollars here, $10 here, $12 there, 28 something dollars here, but it all adds up.
Yeah.
Especially if you get a major placement. So yeah, I think just starting out, you'll start to see the few hundreds. You may start to see the few thousands. And I'm not at the point where I can say I'm truly making a full-time living from licensing. But hey, that mailbox money never hurts.
It could.
Never hurts.
I mean, it can be done, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. It could be done. Tell me about the message behind your music. I looked at your bio, and you're saying you're doing it for a different reason now. What was the reason you were doing it for before?
Got stories for days on this one.
Oh, gosh. We got 5 minutes. No, I'm just kidding.
Really?
No, we got enough time.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, when I first started out, I was writing songs about girls. Like, that's what I knew, right? Relationships and all that. And so even when I was 19, I started putting together a demo. I was really looking to be signed. Like I had my, in my head was, okay, Jared the artist, I'm going to start doing this. Okay, here we go. But that quickly morphed. And what it morphed was because I kind of saw my life flash in front of me. And again, I'm an open book. What I saw when I was 19 years old, had I gone down that path, I came back. It was like a skyline apartment, open, kind of open space, whatever. And I just come back from like a tour or something like that. And I came back to nothing. It hurts my heart now even to think about it because I came back to nothing. There were no kids, no wife, no, and I was like, I don't want this. I said, I don't want this. I don't want that life. I don't want to live life in a row this and come back to. Are you kidding me? Who would want that? So right then and there, I think that was my turn from, okay, artist doing this R&B pop, this, to, okay, songwriter, right? Now, I still was writing a lot of R&B and pop, and I still write a lot of pop, but it's now inspirational pop. Now it is, because even at the time, in going from artist to, okay, let me focus on songwriting, a lot of what I was writing was a lot of what was being written, a lot of what people wanted to hear, right? A lot of, okay, well, this would work. But even as that's more, so over the last 2 years, I would say, it's become very adamant and very clear to me what I'm supposed to be writing. And again, a lot of prayer, through this. And it turned from, okay, well, write, this, what I wanted to write, to, well, Lord, what should I be writing? Like, what am I supposed to be doing, with my artistry, with the gifts that you give me? I heard this in my spirit last year. You're an encourager. That's what you're supposed to do. Be an encourager constantly. As we're talking right now, I didn't hear God audibly, but in my spirit so fervently, that's what I felt and heard. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's it. And so for me, my music is supposed to encourage, inspire, and uplift, period. And so a lot of the songs that you'll hear, Turn Up the World and Shine and We Will Rise, and my newest one that's about to come out, the title's escaping me. A lot of it,
For Your Encouragement?
For Your Encouragement was my last album.
Right.
This other song, oh my gosh, and I just finished it earlier this week. But in any event, all my songs are leading and directing because they all go back to encouraging and inspiring. Are they all Christian songs? No. Because for me, when I write Christian song, it's baked in the word and coming from and inspired by the word, pointing people to Jesus, right? Or teaching, the songs are filled with teaching or Jesus teaching how we're supposed to be. So all of my songs, I don't call Christian songs. I don't. I'm a Christian, right? But all of my songs, I don't call Christian music. And I'm very adamant about that because we have to be responsible with our craft. So if I'm going to write an inspirational pop song, I'm going to call it that. But everything that I do is baked in that: inspirational, uplifting, encouraging. If it's not that, I will still, and here's a fine line, right? There's some things as a creator that I said, I want to do a song about such and such. Those types of songs, I'm probably not going to release, because I think as an artist and as a creator, I'm intended to, what I release and what I put out as Jared K.F. Jones is inspire, encourage, uplift. And if it's not that, I'm probably not putting it out, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
So tell me about your most recent release, For Your Encouragement. Where did the inspiration come from? Who all was on your team, and where can we listen?
Got you. So For Your Encouragement, it was kind of born out of that. It was born out of that prayer. I put a lot of things in my Evernote on my phone. Was it last April 2009 or May 2009? Early in 2009, it was born out of that prayer. Lord, what do you want me to be doing? What should I be writing and singing about? What have you called me to do? And it was you're an encourager. So I said, well, that's what the album's going to be about. I said, well, I talked to my sisters about it in terms of, going over album titles and this and that. And I said, I just want to be basic. I want it to be what it is. I don't need to be creative, get all this. No, what is the album for? It's for your encouragement, period. A lot of times we can do that as writers. We can outthink ourselves and try to come, right? It's like, no, what is it? For your encouragement. That's what it is, right? So it was born out of that. Born out of a lot of me falling in love with music production again. Throughout my life, I've worked with many different producers, not like name producers, but producer friends of mine, people that I've met. And a lot of times they would do tracks and I would top line and do melody. But over the last few years, my gosh, I've fallen so in love with music production and producing my own stuff. So I produced the majority of the album. I worked with co-producers Chris Adams on Even Jesus Cried, which is the first record off the album. Underway, I worked with Azimdi. You'll hear his name a lot. In any review, you'll hear Azimdi a lot. It's my brother.
Can you spell that?
Azimdi, Ezemdi. Azimdi Shakwindu.
Gotcha.
I'm not spelling that. You can look that up. Yeah. But yeah, he produced Underway. I think those are only two outside producers that I use in the album. And then Tony Worthy, who you
Yes, shout out to
last night,
Tony.
we wrote Dust, which is track 4 on the album. And so
Okay.
all of it, and actually, since I'm on video, I'll show you guys here.
Yes. Oh,
Oh,
we
can you
can't
see?
see it.
Oh, no, you can't see it.
No.
Oh,
You might want to
can you
go
see that?
back to your other screen.
Wow, well, you can't see it, but it's a 4-year encouragement lyrics and devotionals book. And it's
Oh, that's
available on my
good.
website. And I put it together because I said, this is more than just about the songs, and that's it. If I'm
Yeah.
truly full of encouragement, what is this really about? So in the limited edition, I call it, because I'm not printing up any more copies. I only have like 10 more left. Is that I have the lyrics in here, and I have a short devotional for each song, because there's a biblical message behind each and every song that I wrote.
Yes.
So that's what it was about. And I released that at the end of 2019. I did press up CDs, because I said this is probably the last time I ever press up CDs, to be honest. But I wanted to have something tangible and something that would, again, truly encourage people. That's really, so that's what that album was born out of.
Yeah. Where can we find that?
It available on all streaming platforms. If you want to just take a listen to it, or you can go, if you want the hard copy, a CD, nostalgia, right? Or the lyric book. You can go to jaredkfjones.com, jaredkfjones.com,
Okay.
and check that out. And if it encourages you, get one for a friend. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, I want it to serve its purpose. I really want it to serve its purpose. And if it's not, hey, what am I doing? If I'm not really serving that purpose, serving as an artist and truly encouraging people, what is it worth? So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So last question, then we'll wrap up. So we had a session a couple of weeks ago where you came in and you looked up at my, you saw my little hookup with recording and everything. For somebody who is starting to get into producing and recording space, what's some of the best equipment or practices
Yeah,
you can have?
absolutely. Number one, I would say get a great computer. I'm going
Not
with
a
this.
Mac. Yes.
Not a Mac. No,
Apparently not a Mac.
honestly, with whatever you're comfortable with in terms of whether you're PC or Mac, get a solid computer that is fast, right? You guys feel free, anyone listening to this, feel free to email me, jared@jaredkfjones.com, for any tips. I'm an open book. I would love to share. But there's plenty of sites, there's plenty of blogs, and there's plenty of even YouTube videos where you can go and, hey, what's the best equipment? But for me, definitely a solid computer, fast, right? That's number one. Number two is a solid audio interface. So yes, a lot of computers come with sound cards where your volume, you'll hear your computer speakers. But with an audio interface is designed specifically to take in your microphone, right? Whatever microphone, we'll talk about that in a second, and give you a better sound quality than your computer sound card. So that's one. Some people think, and there's some mixers, there's some mixing boards, small mixing boards, Yamaha, Behringer, that double as interfaces. I like just the interface. Again, I'm biased. But in one of my favorites, actually, I'm using right now, the Focusrite Scarlett. It's fairly inexpensive. I think you can grab it for about $150. There are some packages at one of our favorite stores, Sweetwater.com, which we love,
yes.
right? Big shout out to Sweetwater. I love them, and I always get my stuff from them. Guitar Center is cool as well. But Focusrite Scarlett. And again, videos. Like I would say, if you get something, you learn how to use it. So get a solid computer, get an audio interface, something like a Focusrite Scarlett, and get a decent microphone. You can get a decent microphone for about $100, I would say. One of the first microphones I started off was an MXL microphone, and actually I think you can get those for $60. An MXL 990, it's a condenser microphone, or an Audio-Technica 2020. But again, look it up. Look up like, hey, Google or YouTube, budget microphones under 300. Look at your budget, and again, don't spend too much, because you can easily fall into a trap of just so much money on equipment. But actually spend more money, if I'm being honest, spend more money on your education and educating yourself about how to use the stuff.
Yes.
So computer, audio interface, microphone, and I would say MIDI keyboard, because again, I think anybody should, you can use some virtual instruments on the computer, but I would say as we're honing our craft, always, be trying to get better. Whether you play or not, get a small MIDI keyboard. I don't have my other one, but M Audio makes a nice one. M Audio makes a nice small MIDI keyboard. A MIDI keyboard is just, you can plug it up via USB to your computer. It will allow you to control virtual instruments. So you can play like gorgeous sounding pianos using software if you had a MIDI, what's called a MIDI keyboard or controller. So that's four. And then lastly is studio software. So you have everything to get your sound into the computer, right? You got your computer, your interface, your microphone, and your MIDI keyboard, studio software. Where can you go to click a button and record yourself? Where can you go to click a button and record if you want to play some piano chords? I use Pro Tools. That's considered the industry standard, but I use Pro Tools mainly because I'm used to it. Use something that's going to be easy for you to learn and something you can get used to. People use Ableton. I don't like Ableton personally, but some people use it. Cubase, Azimdi loves Cubase. He's big on Cubase. I don't know what he uses now, but Cubase is pretty cool. One of the biggest ones I'm telling a lot of artists about is PreSonus Studio One. I've used PreSonus Studio One. I use version 3. I use Pro Tools. I don't use it now. But when I look across the board and I see, hey, what's a simple and easy one to learn, yet is still very powerful and will give you a great sound quality. PreSonus Studio One, I think they're on version 5 now. PreSonus Studio One artist version you can get for about $100. And I think it has like unlimited tracks. It comes built in with virtual instruments, so you could truly make a full record and mix and do everything you need to do within that program. And of course, you can upgrade and stuff. But I would say starting there, if you kind of look up some of those places, and I think that's a great start. And of course, lastly, I'm sorry, so this is number 6, high quality headphones.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you have to, whatever you record in, you have to be able to hear it, and you want to be able to hear it in its best quality. So get a pair. These are a pair of Audio Technica M50Xs, about $149. My favorite headphones ever. I mean, I own a pair of some other headphones like $300 Sennheisers. These are better, or these are not better. I like these better. I use those other ones for an intended purpose, for certain mastering work. But these I use all the time to record, to mix, and for people who are like excuse me, apartments and places where they can't really play. Notice that I didn't say studio monitors. Notice I didn't say that, and I didn't say that because for mine, I'll use mine to reference. But look, I got a wife and 3 kids here, and I'm in a community where I don't really want to be blasting. This isn't a soundproofed room. I got some acoustic treatment here, but many people probably listening to this and watching this are in apartments, right, or in places where people don't want to be hearing us working on a guitar part or a drum part for 30 minutes or whatever. So get some high quality headphones, and I think you have everything you need to make great music from your home. I think anyone can do that. Set a budget for it. Save some money aside for it, and you can always upgrade. Don't think that it'll have to be what you use forever. You learn it, you love it, and then you start learning, hey, if I want to get my sound quality just a little better, what are some things that I can do? And once you learn everything and once you get used to everything, then you'll be more well versed to figure out, hey, if I want to upgrade, in what areas should I be looking at?
Yeah, awesome. What are the benefits of? I said it was going to be last question, but
as many as you like. As many as you like.
So, what are the benefits of having a fully produced demo?
Oh yes. Options. I'm an options guy. I'm a value guy. I love having my options. Going back to the home, and why I'm so adamant about everyone having capabilities to record at home is because what if, for example, this has happened to many people. I'm sure people listening will understand this. Let's say you write a song. It's a great song. You love it. Oh, you spend some money. You go into a studio. You record. Oh, it sounds fantastic. And then you start pitching it, whatever your intended purpose of the song is, if you want to release it yourself or if you want to pitch to other artists. What if the song doesn't get the feedback that you want? What if people don't like it? You've spent money, right, on getting something, and it's, oh, well, now what do? You have no other choice but to spend more money, either reworking it or unfortunately, you have to toss it and say, well, that was a waste. So I'm so adamant about, look, even once you get if you're doing a guitar piano demo, okay, cool, cool. Get it as close to a record as possible, because then everyone will hear it in a certain context, right? You're starting to hear nowadays that, people say the old days, right? People could hear a song and hear where a song could go, right? You could hear me singing a voice note and say, whoa, that could be a great record. A lot of people nowadays, our brains are different because we're so used to hearing, right, the sonic quality of what we hear on the streaming services or whatever. We're so used to that. So even if people tell you, oh, well, we can hear a record through blah, blah, do you really want to take that chance, right? Do you want to take the chance that somebody's going to have an ear to hear your piano vocal on your phone, and that they could hear that it's going to be a record? Some people still have that gift. I truly believe that. But most may not. So get as close to a record as possible for a varying amount of reasons. Number one, so you can say, this is how I have it in my head. It's a blessing and a curse, because some people can hear and say, I don't really like the way it sounds, right? But more often than not, it's your vision. When you have your song in your head, you hear it a certain way, right? If you're like me, you hear it as if it's already on the radio. So I'm like, okay, I already hear how it's supposed to sound. Let me craft that. Let me hone this until I get the sound in my head. So you can only go so far if you're doing that on your voice note, isn't it? It can start here. It can start in the phone. But if you can get it as close to a fully produced and fully finished record on your own, right? And then you can say, okay, here are the areas where I know I need to either hone my skill and get better at doing this myself, or now I understand what I love and enjoy about this process. I know I can get myself a fully produced demo from home. Oh, but I still want somebody to mix it. You just start to learn so much more about yourself once you've dove in. And then you can peel back later and say, okay, I want to be able to get up into this point because I enjoy it. And then I now know and understand what I need to do to take this further. But here's another thing. If you have a fully produced demo, right? And this, a lot of mine started like this. I said my first album when I was 18, but again, nobody ever heard it. The first album that I actually released on like streaming platforms was called What Could Have Been. Take a wild guess. Another one about a girl. In 2011. And when I did that one, a lot of those songs were born out of songs that I had produced and intended to get to other artists. But why did I release it myself? Well, because after a certain period of time, I said, well, wait a minute. I'm waiting for these songs to get pitched in place. I'll just put it out myself. Like I hear people say I have a nice voice. Cool. I like doing this. Let me go ahead and release myself. So you can decide options. Remember, if you come from a place where, hey, I want this to pitch this song to another artist, blah, blah, blah. And let's say you do that. And let's say nobody's biting, right? We can make choices to say, I want to get the song to Beyonce, and I will do as much as I can to do that. But after so long, give yourself a timeline, year, 2 years, whatever. There's some songs you can say, hey, this is a song for this artist. I know it, and I'm going to do it. I don't want to ever release a song. But there are other songs you say, man, I really want this song to be out. Regardless, aren't you in a much better position to potentially put your own music out if you come from a place where you already have fully produced and professional sounding stuff, right? And last thing I'll say about it is, aren't you in the best position to get your own film and TV placements, knowing that you have your own fully produced and ready to go music? Oh, I'm so adamant about it, because if you have 50 songs again in voice notes, and guys, people are releasing music all day, every day. You can be a part of that. And because again, somebody needs to hear your song, and they can't do it with your songs just sitting there, not fully worked, not fully produced, not fully fleshed out. So I'm adamant about that. We have to, but we have to do it responsibly. Don't do it like I did at 18, right? Where I just press record, right? And okay, that's the song. No. Do it. Listen to other records. Hey, am I sonically there yet? If no, hone your craft, get better at it, or hire somebody to help you. There's no harm in doing that, because as you're doing that, you're always getting better. And hey, who knows, 2-3 years down the line, you can be at a point where you're fully producing your own stuff and getting there without needing somebody else. So yeah. Oh gosh, this is a journey, man. This is a journey. And shame on us if we're not growing, and if we're not, this is what we love, and this is who I think we're supposed to be. So let's do it, and let's do it right.
Yeah. I mean, especially for sync publishers, they want to hear that. They don't have time for, oh, I vision it this way. They don't have time for that. They've got a million different other songs coming into them. They want to be able to hear what your vision is and what what you want it to sound like. Boom.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, Cherie Svoltori is always saying, don't be a time taker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't have it fully produced, that's taking time out of their day where they could be
hmm
doing other things,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And hindering yourself from potential, hey, oh, this song would be great on such and such. Wouldn't it be great if they could just forward it along to XYZ music supervisor
Yeah.
that they think the song is great for, rather than, oh, but it just needs this. Now, granted, you still may have a fully produced song, and they, people can still want some changes, right? Which is also why I'm so adamant about people doing as much as they can on their own, or at least getting everything. Because if the guitar is too loud or they don't like X, Y, Z, hey, do you have the ability to be able to go and make certain changes? If you went to a studio, so get all your stuff. Like, make sure you have everything you possibly need. Because again, options, man, options. You can do
Mm-hmm.
remixes later. I want to do an acoustic version of my song Dust. Let's say that. Well, I have everything on my computer. I produced it. So, you're right. And if not, again, I'm not, trust me, I'm not against studios. I'm not against, going to get things done. But at the very least, make sure you leave with your stuff. You're paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
Get your tracks, because hey, options, 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 options. If nobody gets anything else from me today, have your
Options.
options.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
All right. Well, it was so awesome having you on today. I'll let you know when this airs and
Ooh,
all
this is
that.
fun, man.
So,
This is good. You know I
yeah.
talk a lot.
Well, thank you so much again for being on.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Hey there. Thank you so much for listening. Don't go just yet. I would love if you headed over to iTunes and left a review. It makes a huge difference in getting celebration conversations out there. Let's celebrate together. While you're at it, make sure to share this episode on Facebook, Instagram, or wherever your social media platform is. I would love to connect with you and hear about your celebration story. Come find me on Instagram at @SYoungMusic.